There's a lot of things going on, some reasons to be hopeful, some reasons sometimes to feel fearful. And this verse has just kind of been huge on my life in a general sense, but even just as a thing to talk about with people, is because it seems that we're in a time where a lot of change is happening, But many times everything outside us is changing, but everything within us is staying the same. And it's what that causes is that there's like this disconnect from reality sometimes, that sometimes we think that what needs to keep changing is people around me, need the politics around me, right? That can even be just like a terrible thing to mention. My family needs to change, my spouse needs to change, my company that I work for needs to change, my friends need to change. But it seems like we don't talk about enough just a simple thought of, well, I need to change. And it seems that the Christian message, the answers to a lot of our questions from Christ in general, whatever you're going to ask, he's always going to turn it on you and ask you, well, how's this going to change your life? You talk about the Pharisees, when you talk about Mary Magdalene, anytime there was any person who seemed to be in the wrong, Christ turns it around and says, well, okay, what's going to happen with you in your life? Because you can't change that. So how is that going to change you?
Right.
And Paul is just so firm about that. Like, the history of this is so important. When you're looking at anything that Paul wrote, which is anything from Romans, Corinthians, Ephesians, all the Pauline letters, which he wrote to these different communities that were very excited about just kind of joining the church, he's really correcting them, because it seems that a lot of these different groups, one of the things that they did is something that we do today, whether you're Christian or not, which is we constantly start thinking, well, they should change and that person should be different and this should be. And Paul is just like, hold on. The first thing that needs to change in your life is not the people around you or the institutions that you work with. The first thing that needs to change is you, because it's the only thing that you've got control over in your life. You do not have control over everything around you. Maybe you could say, well, I can vote, I can get involved in the community. Yes, but that starts with that perfect word, which is not that perfect word, but with that first word, which is that primary word. I must be transformed. Like I must be changed, And so I think that in modern language, sometimes we've wanted everything around us to be different, but we don't want to be different. And so when I read this, it seems that the call of Christ, through the words of Paul, is totally the opposite. The first thing that needs to happen in your life is your personal conversion. That's it, right? Very simple, wherever you're at.
That's the gospel. That's the gospel, Nico. And that's the beauty of what Paul was writing to the early churches, is that he was bringing them the gospel through the lens that he would have received it directly from the resurrected Jesus.
I'll never be alone, I'm with you. You're closer to my heart than I knew.